Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Shall we begin the session? All right. In the last class, we have finished with these 14 steps of the data collection. What are the various 14 steps that is used for the data collection? How these 14 steps will be manageable for the data collection? So we are finished with the manage data, that is step number 13. So after the data are collected and even after the data have been analyzed. So once the data have been collected and analyzed, then a plan must be put in place. So there is a plan out that must be put in place to continue the effective and ethical management of the data. That is, what are the various effectiveness and what are the various ethical management of the data. And in most of the cases, data remains viable for some period of the time. Viable in the sense they have become viable, they have become variable for some period of the time. And after reading the evaluation report, so when we done with the evaluation report, decision makers of one or other stakeholders and other evaluator may generate questions that can be answered by revisiting the data. How it reviews it, where it reviews it, and how it will generate the various questions. And in the same case, it is important to develop a plan for continued access to the uncorrupted data. What is the continuous access that is used with the uncorrupted data, and the data to be retained for some period of time. For example, data is retained for some period of time. Let's example for managing the data, it will be continued for the uncorrupted data. Then the project team must also make certain arrangement that the confidentiality and the anonymity. Confidentiality means what are the various ways by which the confidence data will be maintained, and anonymity, that means no one can capture the data of the no one others. So that the anonymity is maintained, that is the confidentiality and the anonymity. And finally, the intellectual property rights, that is including the questions of who owns the data, that needs to be defined. So that is how it will manage and how it will maintain and how it will own the data. That is a various question that will be maintained. So who will own the data, that is defined. Who will include the data, that is also defined. That is step number 13. And then step number 14, that is synthesize information and create a report. What are the various information that is synthesized? What are the various information that is created out? Synthesize the information and create a report. So after the data have been collected and analyzed, so once the data have been collected and analyzed, then evaluation report must be generated. That report must contain what is the main crux of the data, how we can synthesize the data, what is the main period, what is the main duration of the period that will create the report. So after the data have been collected and analyzed, it's the evaluation report that must be written out. And obviously, knowing when the evaluation report and its recommendation will be needed, that impacts the overall timeline as well as a decision that is related to the evaluation design. What are the various evaluation design? What are the various data that is evaluated? That is, what are the various data collection strategies? And although the nature of the evaluation report, that includes a length, style of the writing, that is determined to some extent by its audience. They are the standard component to any evaluation report, that is what are the various standard components that is created in the report. How we can synthesize the information, how we can generate the information, how we can combine the multiple information. So there are standard components to any evaluation technique that is report that is generated. For example, when you talk about the report that is generated, that includes a description of the evaluation methods used. Now, let's take example, how were the samples stored, how was the data collected and analyzed. In addition to this, the report must also include a discussion of the problems encountered. What are the various problems that is encountered in the synthesizes the information, including the evaluation techniques. So the report must include a discussion of the problems encountered, errors that is made with the design and implementation of the data collection instruments or tools, and the readers of the report must also feel confident, that is, they are confident that the result of the evaluation are truthfulness, credible, recommended. Why? Because everything is generated, everything is possible with this one. Everything is generated with the results of the evaluation that is credible and that have a multiple recommendation, that have generated the report, synthesize the information, that is taking the sample, generating the report, how the data will be collected, how the data will be generated. In addition to this, how the reports will be generated for the information. So that includes the decision, that includes the evaluation design, data collection strategies, nature of the evaluation, that is the length and the style of the writing. Next is who should conduct the evaluation. So next is who should conduct the evaluation. That is, what are the various evaluation techniques and who should, that means who are the concerned person that is conducting the evaluation. So early in the evaluation or early on in the evaluation planning process, that decision will need to be made whether or not to hire an outside evaluator, whether the evaluator that is from the inside the organization, that is within the team, or any person from the team or any person beyond the team. That means early in the evaluation planning process, the decision will need to be made whether or not to hire an outside evaluator. In some cases, decision has to be made on the team, and many managers require that an outside evaluation be contacted. That means most of the persons need that the evaluator must be from the outside, because if the person is from inside within the team, so he or she must be biased at some time. So decision has to be made for the team, and many managers require an outside evaluator be contacted. Why? Because it is seen as the objective third party who may be able to bring a fresh perspective to the project. Because everything is used to with the project. If a new person is come, that there are new perspective, we can say there are new challenges that is recovered, that is variable with the demonstration of and many funding agencies requires an external evaluator to conduct evaluation to minimize biasness and provides credible evidence of the project enhancement or achievements. That is, what are the various project achievements, and the evaluation or the evaluation expertise does not exist, then outside evaluation is not required. It is possible to run the major components of the evaluation in-house. That means it is also possible to run the evaluation in-house. But however, manager should proceed with a caution. So manager should proceed with a caution, and those with strong ties to the project, that is the project manager, staff members, volunteer, advisory committee members, they may find it difficult to shed their biasness, particularly if the evaluation results are to be used in the decision making. That is used with the decision making evaluation technique. And the project staff members, volunteers, and the other stakeholders should be involved in determining the focus and objectives of the evaluation. What is the main focus and what is the main objective of the evaluation? Determining the focus and the objective of the evaluation. However, at a minimum, side and outside evaluator should be responsible for data analysis and the interpretation. What is the data analysis? What are the various interpretation that is to be used with an outside evaluator that should be responsible for the data analysis and the evaluation methods. What are the various data evaluation? What are the various data analysis? Why there is a data analysis will be used and why there is an interpretation. So next one is who should conduct the evaluation. That is, who should conduct means who is the person responsible for conducting the evaluation. So early in the evaluation planning process, the decision will be made to whether the person is eligible for the voting or whether the person is eligible to hire from the outside or from the team. And in some of the cases, decision may have been made for the team only. So the decision that is taken by the team only whether to hire the new contractors or whether to use the new objectives. And many funding agencies also require external evaluators to conduct evaluation to minimize the biasness, also provides credible evidence of the project achievement. What are the various credible evidences of the project achievements? And if the evaluation expertise does not exist, so if there is an evaluation expertise that does not exist over here, and the outsider is not required, so it is not possible to use the evaluation and that is carried out by the in-house evaluators. However, at a minimum, an outside evaluator should be responsible for data analysis and interpretation. Every work is done by the internal evaluator, but the data analysis and the interpretation that is done by the outsider or outside evaluator. Next question is, does evaluation really matter? So this really works. Why we are needing this for? There's a requirement of the evaluation, or this is unnecessary step for taking the evaluation. So we all know that evaluation is very important. Some of what we learn made me realize just how important it is evaluation. When I talk about the interviews with a variety of the agency educators, a common theme was that evaluation is very important, but that is not often, or that is often not thought about until about a program that is well underway. That is well underway with the program, and most educators use the feedback forms for the bulk of their evaluation information. So most of the educators uses the feedback form. There is a feedback form that is used with the evaluation, that is used with the evaluation information, that is the bulk of the evaluation information. In most of the cases, they found that the people like their program, that is also offered their program with the minor ways in which the program should be composed or should be improved. And the several of the that many of the educators who use the evaluation in this way commented that there was no need for some information because they know their program already. They know their program, what is the program, how it is developed, why it is developed. And many unwanted or many wanted to continue with gathering the same type of evaluation data in order to maintain a consistent level of the participant audience satisfaction with the program. And on the other hand, educators who wanted to use the evaluation to improve their program asked more about the questions, but are various questions in different ways and at different times in order to get a good picture of how we are doing. How we are doing in the sense, how we are doing something, how we are going to better or do the better things. That the outcomes from these evaluations reveal that the people like the program, but also gives the educators a lot of the information. What are the various information that is gathered with the information gathering that is gathered to make the evaluation techniques, to make the evaluation criteria that is successful for the reporting purpose, that is also used for the educator, that is used that also provides a lot of the information for making changes and for reporting the purposes. And when we talk about the educator, that was also realized when so this is one of the example of the educator, that one educator was surprised when she realized that not all the finding must be high scores. She was able to explain how the data was being used and able to show the improvement. So that makes my boss was happy. I was able to show accountability. And when there is the evaluative data was gathered reveals a lot about the program managers, beliefs about the evaluation, and there's a clear maturity assumed that a feedback form is an evaluation. So there's clear maturity that also taken out that there is an evaluation form, feedback form that is known as an evaluation, while others also believe that it is a pre-test or the post-test. And some individuals uses the team meeting in the planning phase all the way through the staff and secondary audience measures in the outcome measurement phase as a part of how we are learning about our program. What is the program? How we learn about the program? Why the data is required about the evaluation? What is a clear understanding of the evaluation? Then as with the need assessment, so then the need assessment will be carried out. So there is a need assessment that will be used in the assessment phase. That also reveals a lot about the program manager's beliefs about the evaluation, and the clear maturity assumes that the feedback form is an evaluation, while other believe that it is a pre-test or the post-test. So it depends on the evaluation form. It depends on the feedback form, that is the evaluation, that believes that it is a pre-test, post-test for the requirement of the gathered, or the requirement gathered. And some individuals also use the team meetings in the planning. So they also use the team meeting in the planning phase only. That is how to build the outcomes. What are the various programs that we're learning about our program? What are the various need assessment categories? So as with the need assessment, the larger the program, the more time. Obvious, if the program is so large, so we have that will be take more time that is take to conduct and done, and more funding it has, the more evaluation is formalized throughout the process. So more time it takes, larger the program, more funding it has. And that makes good sense from the accountability perspective, where you spend your resources, including your time, makes all the differences, and the evaluation that can improve and understand whether your resources are being fully wisely used or not. So whether the resources are widely used, whether the resources are fully used, improved, and understand what are the various resources that is widely used, that is widely available for the assessment, that is used for the analysis and the interpretation. Now, we have done with everything. We have done with all the 14 steps. These 14 steps. Any doubt in these 14 steps? Now, Let's see what are the 14 steps that is available over here. Now, these are the 14 steps that we have finished for the planning phase, and the 8 steps for the step number 1, re-examine the issues, then establish the planning team, then the evaluation techniques, then identify a purpose for the evaluation, and focus on the project improvement, then assess the project outcomes and the impact, what are the various outcomes and the impact, then clarify the time frame in which the activities and impact are expected to occur, then literature search, then data collection methods, what are the various data collection methods, and also develop the questions based on the evaluation goals. These 8 steps. Then next one is data collection methods. The step number 9, determining the audience sample, design and pilot the data collection instrument, gather and record the data, perform the data analysis, manage the data, synthesize the information, and create the report. So these are the 18 steps that is followed. So these are the 14 steps that is followed, and we have covered with the 10 steps, and we have covered with the 8 steps that for the planning process, and the 2 steps or the 3 steps for the data collection method. So 8 steps for the data planning process, 3 steps for the data collection methods, and last 3 steps for the data analysis and the reporting. So there are in totality 14 that is divided into 3 parts: 8, 3, and 3. 8 for the planning, 3 for the data collection, and 3 for the data analysis and the reporting. And we have finished each and every. So my question is to each and everyone: any doubts anyone on these 14 steps? Any clarification about these steps? Okay, just recall each and every one step, that is what are various steps that we follow. Step number 1 is re-examine the issues, audience, and the project objectives. What are the various issues, what are the various audiences, and what are the various project objectives. Then establish the planning team. What is the planning team? That includes the stakeholder, that includes the audiences and the evaluators. Then what is the main purpose for the evaluation? That is, what is the identify the purpose, why we are going to do the evaluation. Then focus on the project improvement. How we focus on the project improvement? What is the main category for the project improvement? What is the main criteria for the project improvement? That is the focus on the project improvement. Then assess project outcomes and the impacts. What are the various project outcomes and the impact over here? Then clarify the time frame in which the activities and the impacts are expected to occur. What are the various activities? What are the various impacts that is expected to occur over here? What are the various activities and the impact, that is, what are the various outcomes that are expected to perform. Then perform a literature search. What is the literature search over here? It is step number 7. Then step number 8 is select the data collection methods. What are the various data collection methods, and also develop the questions that is based on the evaluation goals and the objectives. That is, why we are using the data collection methods, or what are the various data collection methods, we can say what are the various techniques that is followed, and also develop the question that is based on the evaluation goals and the objectives. So first is data collection methods. What are the various data collection methods, and select the data collection method, and also develop the questions that is based on the evaluation goals and the objectives. And then next is the data collection. So determine the audience sample. What is the audience sample over here? Then design and pilot the data collection instrument. So design and pilot in the sense, what are the various data collection method that is designed, what are the various instrument that is used over here, and then gather and record the data. How we can gather the information, how we can record the information. Then next is, yes, determining the audience sample means take out the sample, determine what are the various background of the sample, what is the audience background, why the audience will be settled for taking the data collections, then design and pilot the data collection methods. What are the various data collection instruments that is designed, that is used, then gather and record the data. How we can gather the data, how we can record the data, that is gathering and then recording the data. So step number 9 is audience sample, 10 is design and pilot the data collection instrument, and 11 is gathering and recording the data. So data collection is over, 9, 10, 11, 3 steps. Then 12, that is the third last step in the total steps, that is the first step of the data analysis and the reporting. That is step number 12 is perform the data analysis. What is the data analysis that is carried out? how we are going to manage the data, what is the content, what is the criteria for the data collection. So step number 12 is performing the data analysis. Then step number 13 is manage the data. How we can manage the data, what is the main criteria for managing the data, what is the main crux of managing the data. Then synthesize the information and create a report. Synthesize in the sense how we can build the information, how we can do the information and create a report. That is a step number 12, perform the data analysis. Then step number 13, manage the data. And step number 14, synthesize the information and create a report. These are the total 14 steps that is covered, that is used in the evaluation method. Now, anyone any doubts on these 14 steps? Alright, so let's move to the next page, next part, that is evaluation cost. How much cost is required and how much cost it will take for the evaluation. So it depends on the size and the complexity of the project. We are not saying that every project have a same evaluation cost. No. So it depends on the size and the complexity of the project. That is typically recommended that 5 to 15% of the project cost be set aside for the evaluation. And cost may be lower if some or even most of the evaluation is conducted in a house. And remember that even through a check that may not be written to an outside evaluator, staff time will still involve cost. And you should note that a great deal of data or great data may also already exist. For example, in the annual reports, when we are showing the participant exit interview, so there is a participant exit interview that is also remembered with the, that is also used with the evaluation techniques, that is also cost technical evaluation cost. So that is how much cost is required for the evaluation. And obviously, building an evaluation around existing data has its pitfalls. That is, so we have to use with the critical analysis. What are the various critical analysis that is done over here? We are building the data. So the critical examination of the quality scores of the existing information that can help answer the evaluation question that cannot be overlooked. That is the evaluation. So what are the various guidelines for conducting a successful evaluation? So what are the various guidelines that is used in the successful evaluation? First one is invest heavily in the planning. So invest heavily in the planning in the sense, what are the various planning phases and what are the various terms that we plan out for this one, what are the various phases, and what are the various guidelines that are followed for the conducting and successful evaluation. So first is invest in the planning. So we are focusing main in the planning process. Why? When the planning is correct, everything is correct. So invest more and more in the planning part. Then integrate the evaluation into outgoing activities of the program. Integrate in the sense, what are the various evaluation method that is carried out in the evaluation criteria. So integrate the evaluation into the outgoing activity in the sense every stage, every step that is followed, that is the outgoing activities of the program. So integrate the evaluation method, integrate evaluation into the outgoing activities of the program. Then participate in the evaluation and show the program staff that you think it is important. So show the staff that why it is important for the evaluation, or why we are using the evaluation. That is one of the basic part of the step of basic part of the stage. Involve as many of the program staff as much as possible and as early as possible. That means, for example, if there are total 10 staff members, so involve each and every staff member so that everyone knows about the project, everyone agrees with the project, every staff member is seen. So involve as much of the or as many of the program staff as much as possible and as early as possible. Be realistic about the burden on you and your staff. So be realistic about the burden that is you and your staff. And be aware of the ethical and the cultural issues in an evaluation. So be aware what are the various ethical issues, what are the various cultural issues in an evaluation. So these are the various guidelines for conducting a successful evaluation. So first is Invest heavily for the planning, then integrate the evaluation into the outgoing activities of the program, then participate in the evaluation and show the program staff that you think why it is important, then involve as many of the program staff as much as possible and as early as possible. Then be realistic about the burden on you and your staff and be aware of the ethical and the cultural issues. What are the various ethical issues or the various cultural issues that is possible for the successful evaluation. The next one is the ethics. What are the various ethics that is carried out? So virtually all the evaluation involves collecting some information and directly or indirectly from the individuals. And in designing the evaluation, the project team must also ensure that the individual involved are treated with respect. So whosoever the individual that is involved, they are treated with the respect and the sensitivity. And not only should the maintenance of the confidentiality and the anonymity be high priority, but the time and the effort that is expended, that is used, that must be used with the confidentiality, with anonymity, that must be of the high priority. But the time and the effort that is expended out by the evaluation participant, that should be respected, that should be respectful, that should be used. That is not appropriate, that is not wind up for the data, that is not used for the data with the evaluation participant, that should be respected, and it is not appropriate to collect the data from the participant, from the individuals. So the last part is matching the data collection instrument to what is processed. That is, what are the various instruments that is used and what are the various ethics that is used for the psychological, that is well-being, and also psychological, that is well-being must be ensured to the data collection process. Interviews, surveys, etc. must be designed in such a way that evaluation participants are not embarrassed or asked to do something that might put in the jeopardy. Jeopardy in the sense they must provide the demographic data on the survey, completing a test or responding to an interview. Respondents are disclosing their personal information about themselves, and the respectful data collection is not enough. However, there is an evaluation ethics that also require that respondent must understand that they are participating in an evaluation and also gives their permission. What are the various evaluation technique that gives the improvement, that gives a technique that is used in the evaluation criteria. So they are taking the permission, they give their permission for the evaluation techniques, for the evaluation criteria. Then last part is part number 3, wrap up. That means part 3 is wrap up over here. So evaluation is not a frill or the luxury for the education program that is to be conducted. If these are sufficient funds or if there are sufficient funds remaining, so evaluation is one of the criteria that must be followed up and must be conducted if there are sufficient funds, that is remain over here. And rather an evaluation should be built into the plan for a project from the start. The evaluation should be built up into the plan, should be build a plan from a project from the start. And a well-crafted project evaluation helps decision makers that makes a decision by determining if the project works and whether or not it works or it is worth the investment of the time and resources. Then evaluation resources or evaluation results helps justify worthwhile projects in future funding cycles. So whether it is future funding cycle that is carried out, that is used with the research, that is used with the content that will be carried out with the project, that will be available with the project. And evaluation result can also help worthwhile, that is how it is worthwhile, how it is captured, and equally important, the data also forms or also from a well-conducted scenarios that will be conducted that are also helps shape the future efforts so as to provide more effective, better targeted, and more widely used program to the public. So the more targeted program that is used with the public, that is used with the scenario based, that is used with the evaluation criteria. So there is a well-conducted evaluation that can also shape the future efforts so as to provide the effective, better targeted, and most widely used program to the public. Then the next section of this manual also provides an overview of some of the most commonly used data collection instruments. That is part number 4 that I'm going to discuss in the tomorrow's class. That is what are the various data collection instruments that must be carried out. That is. So we are finished with the part number 3. Now, next part is part number 4, that is the data collection instrument. What are the various instruments by which we can collect the data? Alright, so that's all for today's session. We will be taking out the next part, that is part number 4 in the next class, that is in the tomorrow's class, part number 4, data collection instrument. Now, anyone, any doubts regarding the assignment, regarding this part number 3, part number 3, any doubt, anything, you can clarify the doubt. Just do one thing, read out.